a lot of side effects. That's one of them. But my great joy, my great love of life was sport. I counted them one time, and there are about 15 different sports I played or did: canoeing, kayaking, swimming in a pool, open water, swimming, lacrosse, soccer, basketball, tennis, handball, running, cycling, mountain biking, cross country skiing, downhill skiing. Snowboarding hadn't been invented. Um, so that's roughly 15 things. Speed roller skating, extreme sports, downhill skateboarding. And this great joy and this great love for these sports was pure desire of my heart. Jogging, running, everything you could possibly imagine was my joy. And that was all taken away from me progressively. 2, 3 years, everything was gone. First, I blew out my knee at 18, trying to run track. Second, I came off the front of a skateboard really hard. And the bone and the ligaments were so strong that they ripped away a piece of the bone. And because at the time I was having so much panic and confusion, I just said, this will get better, like it's always gotten better every time I sprained my ankle. It never did. So 35 years later, it still haunts me. What I can do is fast walking now. But people who think there's some kind of formula to get what God promises you on this earth, or to get the desire of your heart. I want to be an NBA player. That's the true, honest desire of my heart. Never going to happen. I want to be the president of the country. It's never going to happen. So even the desires of her, I wanted a wife of my youth, blonde, attractive, athletic, smart, creative. Never happened. So these young guys like Jefferson Bethke, they worry me. They worry me because they portray an infantile version of the Bible without acknowledging the reality of pain. And I think that's what attracts me so much to the Catholic Church. They acknowledge the suffering of the saints. Just that one thing, after 30 years of dealing with Protestant prosperity heresies and all kinds of fucked up, irresponsible leaders, Larry Tomczak, and is going to court. It seems like I hit 6 bad Protestant churches in a row. So that's all gone. So what do you replace that with? You know that you're not going to get what was promised to you. These heroes and Hebrews didn't get what they were promised to. You know you're not going to get the desires of your heart. And instead of the desires of your heart, I've gotten chronic pain in every section of my body, from rotator cuffs to hips to knees to ankles to back. I even hurt my neck performing excessive cunnilingus. And it's just, it's a crazy dichotomy. And I use the image of a clown a lot in writing and poetry and slam and rap. And the clown brings great joy, frivolity, and humor. But the clown also brings horror, fear, and a bizarre madness on his face. When I was 3.5 years old, my grandpa Bobo, the love of my life, he's the coolest guy, my grandfather, took me down to where the old Cleveland Barons played hockey, and there was a circus there. There was a big, I think it was Barnum and Bailey, and a clown. He took me to see the clown, and it just freaked me out. I mean, why would I remember something 50 years later if it didn't have some kind of traumatic impression? In a lot of ways, faith is like that. Faith is going to freak you out. You are not going to get the desires of your heart. You are not going to get what was promised to you on earth. If these people in Hebrews didn't get what was promised to them, why do we feel we're going to escape their pain, their floggings, their rejection, their suffering, their madness? And so the only thing that we can do, we who suffer from barely visible things, I don't think anyone could tell unless they really wanted to look into my eyes, the pain that I suffer. But what happens is those desires are reshaped, retooled. You know, the Bible says that we're like clay and we're shaped in the crucible. That's the strongest thing. And this is why these kids like Jefferson Bethke, and they just drive me crazy. They don't even have enough experience. But they go to a mega church, they sell a book that sells in the millions, and the elders, oh yeah, welcome on in, come on in. Because this guy is pimping product. He is pimping their church. And that's what's so great about the Catholic Church. They acknowledge pain. They acknowledge the reality of it, the normality. They acknowledge the reality of the normality of pain. Mother Angelica in a near coma is suffering to save others. And if you can just get that 1 ounce of hope, no, I'm not going to get the desires. No, I will never do those 15 sports again. Never. I can transform all that athleticism into poetry, and it's a very bizarre transformation. I looked at jazz greats like El Jarreau, who was going to go into the major leagues in baseball, but he transferred all of that athleticism into this muscle right here, one muscle, his vocal cords, and undoubtedly is one of the greatest jazz singers of the 20th, 21st centuries. So that's my hope, that's my prayer, that it can be transferred into something good and hopeful and uplifting, and that I will know that suffering is always redeemed. I don't get that in the Protestant church. I don't get the redemption of suffering because you don't fill the seats. And this insanity of the megachurch, thousands of people in a church, is nauseating. I think it reeks in the sight of God. Because if you have to sell product to fill the pews, and that's what you have to do, you get a kook like Joel Osteen, you get a kook like Joyce Myers, you get kooks out there who are empire makers. And you get kooks like Jimmy Dean Dobson, who's finally been kicked to the curb, Pat Robertson, Jerry Falwell, who talked about homosexuals causing the Twin Towers to go down, and yet he couldn't put his own damn fork down. Probably never worked out in his life. So tell me, what's the greater indulgence? Is the greater indulgence gluttony? Lethargy? I don't know the answer to that question. But I do know this. I'm going to continue on to blog and to write and to turn my suffering and my pain into something positive.